Hello, it's Ashley here from Paper&Twine and welcome to day 3 of Christmas crafting in October. We are going to do some baking today and we're going to make some stem ginger cookies because it is my father-in-law's birthday celebration meal today. He was 91 on Thursday and he absolutely loves anything with ginger in. So I'm going to make some stem ginger cookies. If you're making these for a Christmas gift, obviously it is too early to make them. I suppose you could freeze the dough that I'm going to make and make them later. But I would make these no more than a week before giving them to the recipient. So I'll turn you over and show you what we've got to cook with. In this pan here, I have got 220 grams of light brown soft sugar, 220 grams of butter. I have used salted on this occasion because these biscuits are going to be quite sweet and I want a little bit of contrast with a little bit of saltiness. And I've got 6 tablespoons of golden syrup and we're just going to gently melt all of those ingredients together. I've got it on a very gentle heat, so we will just let that do its thing. And I've got all of my dry ingredients here. I've got 700 grams of self-raising flour, 2 teaspoons of bicarbonate of soda, and it should have been 4 rounded teaspoons of dried ginger, but as you can see, my ginger is empty now. I've probably got 2 in there, so if you like it gingery, you would need more ginger. And then the final ingredient that's going to go in is 150 grams of stem ginger, finely chopped. So this is the stem ginger that I am using. I've put more in because I want just a few more chunks. So we're just going to wait patiently for this to melt. And it's starting to now, and I love the smell of brown sugar and butter melting together. It's very sweet, not very good for you at all. But does ginger count as one of your 5 a day? Ginger itself is very good for you, isn't it? And I know when I was having chemotherapy the first time, I had a real craving for those, not ginger nuts, but you can get ginger thins. They're not very widely available anymore, but they're a very, very thin biscuit. So we're just going to let that melt. And I've also got 2 baking trays. It says to lightly grease them, but I prefer to use baking parchment because it's a bit cleaner. And if they stick to the parchment, it's a bit easier to deal with than dealing with a baking tray. I've added my finely chopped stem ginger and just going to give it a stir with all of those lovely syrupy juices as well. It'll give a little bit of extra flavour. So that's nearly melted. A top tip when you are chopping something sticky like stem ginger in syrup, I used a knife and fork, so I held the ginger down with my fork and cut it with a sharp knife so I didn't get sticky fingers. And I shall be washing out this glass container and using it to store little bits and pieces in my craft room, or for mixing colours together when I'm doing perhaps texture paste work or something. So yeah, these little glass containers are very, very useful. Ella in particular likes the Sainsbury's ones that have a metal lid, and she stores her pins and sewing bits and pieces in separate little jars. And they look pretty. The other ones, these ones with these plastic lids, don't look pretty, but the Sainsbury's ones do look pretty. So we're just coming back over here. I'm going to turn my heat up slightly because I have got it on very low. And just keep stirring, and that butter is nearly all melted now. Fabulous. Now what it says in the recipe that I'm following, which is from a website by Marmalade and Me, and I've just doubled the quantities, and in fact actually it does give you a really handy conversion for doubling or tripling the quantities, and I'm doubling so that we've got some to taste as well. And I think that that is pretty much melted now, and I'm going to turn just that down, heat down a little bit more, and just and it does say in the recipe to add your dry ingredients to the wet ingredients, but my pan isn't big enough, so I'm going to add my wet ingredients to my dry ingredients here. I don't think it really matters, to be honest with you. So while I was getting all of my ingredients prepared, I had my oven heating up to 170 fan. It'll be 190 if you haven't got a fan oven. And I've just poured my wet ingredients in, and I'm just going to mix this up to form a dough. So I started to bring this dough together by using a spoon, and then I got in with my hands, and it was very satisfying because it's very warm from the sugar and butter mixture. And what I need to do now is get even sized balls and put them on my prepared baking tray. So I'll show you that bit in a minute. So I put my balls of dough on the baking sheets, and then I've used the back of a fork to flatten them out. At the moment I've got 12 and 9, 21. I've got a bit of mixture left. So yeah, it says the yield should be about 30, so we'll see. I don't mind if I don't get 30. So they're going to go into my preheated oven for between 7 and 8 minutes. I'll check them after 7. So the stem ginger biscuits or cookies have had just over 7 minutes, closer to 8, and it says to leave them until they're cook them until they're golden brown, and I think I'm going to leave it at that and let them cool. And I've got my other little bit of mixture to cook. So here is the last batch out of the oven. So I've got another 7. So that makes 28 in total. You could have got 30 out of this mixture. I mean, some of mine are real beasties, so might have even got 35. And you can see how relatively clean the empty bowl is. So we're going to let these cool completely, and then I'm going to melt some chocolate and dip half of some of them in the chocolate just for a bit of extra luxury. My mound of biscuits are completely cool. I've been very good. I haven't taste tested one yet. And we are melting in a glass bowl over a pan of warm water, 100 grams of milk chocolate. And I shall repeat the process with dark chocolate. That's 72% cocoa solids. Both of these are cooking chocolate. I might have preferred ordinary chocolate. I don't know. We will see how this works. And I'm just reusing my baking trays that I baked the biscuits on with the parchment paper. When I've dipped my biscuit into the melted chocolate, I'm going to set them on here to set, and hopefully they won't stick and I'll be able to retrieve them. So reusing my parchment paper. You could melt your chocolate in a microwave, but you could be in danger of seizing it where it goes into a hard lump. So this is my preferred method, bain-marie I think they call it. Yes, so I shall give this a little stir and wait for it to go glossy. My chocolate is starting to melt now, and the slower you do this, the better really. You don't want to boil your water underneath. It needs to be simmering, and yes, the more gently you melt this, I think the better the outcome in the end. So we will just let this do its thing. That really didn't take long to melt at all, and I've just turned my heat off underneath, but you can see hopefully that that is lovely and smooth and glossy. And all I'm going to do is take a biscuit and dip half of it in the melted chocolate. What I might have to do actually is spoon spoon the mixture over, because I can't hold the camera and dip it in, but you get the idea. So I will be back to you when I have, oh, I've dropped that one in completely, when I have finished the process. Let's just pop this down before I turn you off. That can be one that we taste. So I dipped and spooned chocolate over 9 of these. This is milk chocolate, and I did the same with the dark chocolate. Those ones look slightly prettier. They're not the prettiest things in the universe. And then I've got 10 plain cookies. So I shall choose 12 of the prettiest ones, 4 of each flavour, to put in a box for my father-in-law for a little birthday present. Yeah, so that is that. Just on a note, I didn't bother cleaning my bowl out when I melted the dark chocolate, just to save on the washing up. So there's a little tiny bit of milk chocolate in that. So I'm going to pop them in a box when they're set. I'm going to put these in the fridge for a little bit, I think, to help the chocolate set, because it is quite warm in the kitchen. The oven has been on. Ella's just cooked herself some dinner. So yeah, I'm going to help them on their way a bit by putting them in the fridge for half an hour. I've decided I'm going to make a box for my cookies. You could just as easily present them in a cellophane bag, wrapped, you know, tied up with some ribbon. But I think just for me, I'd like to make a box. I think it just makes it a bit more of a gift. So while the biscuits are setting, the chocolate on the biscuits are setting, I've got some of the ones that aren't covered in chocolate, just to kind of gauge how big I want my box to be. I've got a pencil to take a note of some measurements, and a ruler. So I haven't got any 12 by 12 black card. I've only got A3 black card. So we might need to take that into consideration when we are thinking about the dimensions of our box. So I normally make square boxes, but I'm thinking perhaps we might make a rectangular box. I wonder if we could, okay, so I wonder if on the long side we had 9 inches. Just going to make a note. These are just calculations. 9 inches. Depth. This is 4 cookies here, and I want 3 times that. So depth, maybe 3.5 inches. 9 plus 3.5 plus 3.5 will give us 16 inches. That might be too long for a piece of A3. I've no idea how long A3 paper is. Let's give it a measure. So that is 12. Oh, I think it is just about 16 inches. Let's just have a look. 12. Sorry, it's off camera. 14.5. So I need to cut ½ an inch off this, and that should be right. And if I score at 3.5 all the way round, that will give me a fairly decent sized box. Let's just measure this on this side. So it is 11 and yeah, 11 3/4. So I think I'm going to cut 1/2 inch off and try and score it on 3.5 inches on all 4 sides. Ooh. Now I am going to cut that down to 11.5 on the short side. So 11.5 on short side. So that's going to give me 8, 5.5. So that's going to give me a box that's 5.5 times 9. Okay, so this is my box base. I'm going to cut that and then come back to you. I hope the lighting is going to be okay. It is very grey and dark outside, and the camera doesn't seem to like this black, and it's making everything else look very washed out. So I will do my best. Bear with. So I have cut my card to 16 inches by 11.5 inches, and I have scored on 3.25 all the way round using my Ultimate Pro. I had to have a bit of jiggery pokery to score. I'm going to fold and burnish these in a minute, and then my base piece, sorry about the terrible lighting, my base piece I cut to 11.5 by 7, and I've scored on 1 inch all the way around. I'm going to assemble this box because you've seen me make boxes before, and I'll come back to you in a moment. So here is my box, and it's quite substantial actually. I should hopefully get 12 cookies in here really easily. And again, I'm so sorry about the lighting. I don't know quite what's going on. I've not had this problem when I've filmed in the dark before. Obviously something's wrong with my camera. So I'm going to decorate this box. You don't need to see me do that. I'm going to choose some paper. I will need to raid my 12 by 12 paper stash because this is over 9 inches long. It's 9.5. So yeah, I'm going to be looking in my 12 by 12 paper stash for something that's quite bright. I've pulled some things out. Yes, I like this. It's lovely and bright, and that side is as well, but I don't think I'm going to have enough to do the sides and the top and the bottom, and I've only got 1 sheet, so that's a no-no. I could perhaps coordinate it with this, but maybe not. Sorry for the rustling. I've got my bird watcher paper here because my father-in-law did used to like feeding birds in the garden, but as much as I love him, I don't know whether I want to sacrifice my bird watcher paper. Let's have a look and see. Two bags. I don't know about this 2 bags. And the beauty of this is, I guess, that you do get extra papers. You know, there's more than, I think there's 2 of each design. So it could work. That's the cover. I mean, we could actually, I mean, I'm not worried about using these templates. We could actually cut that down for the lid. I think we need a nice image on the lid, don't we? And then something else underneath. So that's a possibility. I think that's too floral for a man. We don't want to use cut aparts. That could coordinate round the sides. No, I'm not going to use that. Sorry, Brian. And it's a bit heavy for the box as well. So yeah, we will save that for another day. I have to say, I know we smell paper, don't we? But that smells divine. And I have got this that I won from Zushi Hooshi, and I thought this would be really appropriate, because again, my father-in-law used to love his coffee, and I'm liking this. I think this is quite nice and bright and birthday-ish. So let's have a look and see what we've got in here that we can find. So I won this in Zushi Hooshi 2's giveaway. We've got cut aparts there. Those are the same. We could perhaps put one on the front. Floral and plaid. Floral and plaid. Oh, that's quite good. It shows you underneath what's on the other side. This, I think, could work for the sides and perhaps the base, and we've got 2 of those, and I'm not so bothered about this. I mean, it's useful, but that could be quite nice for the sides, so we'll keep that out. Sides, base and Dewberry Firkin. And then I think if we did this on the top, because the colours all coordinate, and we could put a topper on. I'm going to have a play and come back to you. So I've decorated my box. I've come into the kitchen because the light's a little bit better. I don't know what's going on in my craft room. And you can see I used that lovely kind of paintbrush paper on top. I've put a cut apart on some silver sparkly card. Life happens, coffee helps. I'd stopped drinking coffee, but I'm not a quitter. I've just written a little message on the back. And then I've just put this on here with my new cat wax seal. It's the closest colour of wax that I've got. Then around the sides of the box, I've done that, and then that on the bottom. So we'll put the biscuits in now. So I've got 4 of each kind in here with a bit of baking parchment. The lid will go on. I'll do that in a minute when I've got both hands free. Obviously I haven't decorated the inside of the box because there's food inside and it would be a waste of paper. And if you were doing this for Christmas, you would decorate in Christmas paper, not birthday type paper. We haven't done a taste test or a kind of texture test, so these are designed to be slightly chewy. I'm not going to eat all this cookie because I'm going to have my tea in a minute, but I'm just going to give you a little taste test. Can you see the texture inside? So really nice and soft, very gingery and not over sweet actually. I would have liked a little bit more ginger in it, but as you know, I ran out of ginger. So I enjoyed that process. Lessons learnt. I would make each biscuit smaller, and yeah, mine weren't the prettiest of biscuits, but they sure do taste lovely. So give this recipe a go. I think it's lovely to make things for people. I get great pleasure out of people's pleasure in receiving something that I've made for them rather than buying. I mean, I know that I could have gone out and bought some stem ginger cookies, but it's not the same, is it really? Let me know what you think. What would you do? You might like this picture behind me. Mr. Paper&Twine bought it when we were in Ashbourne, which you would have seen a clip of if you watched yesterday's video. It's by an artist called Jill Ray, and Mr. Paper&Twine really liked it, and I liked it too, and we often don't agree on things, so it was nice that we saw something that we both liked. Sorry, you're getting a bit of glare there. So there is day number 3. Come back tomorrow for day number 4. I wonder what we'll make tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Bye now.